As we have promised, let me introduce you to our special guest all the way from Pittsburgh, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a favorite of the halls of Boca Raton, I might add. I'm introducing to you Brad Schiff. Now, allow me to tell you a little bit about Brad, but first of all, Brad, how are you doing this evening?
Couldn't be better.
Hey, great. It's great.
Super excited to be on your station.
Hey, we're glad to have you with us. How's the weather in Pittsburgh?
It's cold.
Cold.
Really cold.
Really cold. Okay, you're really getting serious with that. Well, may you keep warm.
Okay.
All right,
yeah.
right. Brad is a very unusual and has an unusual mind. He teeters on the longitudinal fissures of his right and left brain. Half artist and half intellectual, Brad brings humor, heart, wisdom, and sometimes harshness to his conversations and writings. His left hemisphere is perpetually attentive in seeking truth and knowledge by asking why, what, which, where, when, now, how, who. The right hemisphere loosens the constraints on his left brain by viewing life outside the box with wit and a happy hippie heart. Brad is unpredictable, which makes for a wild ride in his pursuits. His book, God is Great, but His People Suck, is no exception. You'll be very interesting and entertained with this title, and at times it is ridiculously funny and other times pointedly terse, while precariously balancing his care for people, often bringing the reader to the edge of tears. However, Brad's ultimate goal is to love people. Brad, could you share with our listeners a brief, or however long you want to take, description of your unique book?
Sure. I appreciate the chance to do that.
Hey, we're glad to have you.
Let me say first, I'm completely jazzed to be with you, Lon. I love you, you know that, and I love your family. I love what you do.
Great.
I'm
feelings mutual.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm sitting here. I'm emulating John the Baptist. I have my wild honey tea. I left out the locusts.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I'm here and I'm prepared with a ready defense of the truth that is in me.
Great.
So that is 1 Peter 3:15. No matter what's required of me, what's asked of me, all the questions, I have to have some sort of defense for them, and that's partly why I wrote this book.
Hey, great. Well, you know, Brad, our program is opinions, and I find in reading your book and knowing a little bit about you, you have an opinion backed by facts. Yeah. And I think that's pretty good. You know, a lot of people have an opinion, but it's just ethereal. It's out in the woods someplace, but no fact to back it up, and many times a total myth. But I digress there. Continue on, Brad.
Right. Well, in the book, again, one of my chapter titles is called "Who Am I and Who Cares What I Think?" So that's sort of the thrust of the book. It's really dealing with life in a earthy way, learning how to talk to people, how to love people appropriately. And it's a book that I absolutely did not want to write. I had no interest in writing a book, and God had other ideas, and so I went with His idea because it's usually better.
Wise man you are.
Yeah. And I have the subtitle to the book, God is Great, but His People Suck, is a polemical look at life with a propitious twist, written by a pleb. And, you know, those are tongue-twisty words, but the idea of it, a polemic, is somebody who takes kind of a harsh look at life, and yes. Propitiousness is sort of humorous. So I'm saying I'm taking a harsh look at life through this book in a humorous way, written by a pleb, and a pleb is just a person who's a commoner, just like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not want to write it. I said, people have been asking me to write a book for 30 years. I said no for 20-some years. And I finally had a customer come into the store and get me to at least think about writing this book, but that was 10 years ago. So you can say I'm not easily swayed.
Right. Well, that's good. And I guess you can say, it took me 10 years to write this book.
That's right. Yeah. And what's funny is I was so naive in writing it. When I first started it, I really needed somebody's push, somebody's help. It was my daughter who finally got a hold of me, and she said, "Dad, I have some time. We're going to write your book. Let's go."
Wow, that's great.
We headed to Las Vegas, Sin City, the place that a lot of Christians say that's a naughty place. You shouldn't go there.
Mm-hmm. It's a good mission field.
That's exactly right. I said, you mean the place that Jesus would be found.
Right.
Right. So I thought, perfect place to start writing this book, especially considering the title, to really deal with the subject matter, and that is love. And I give a fair warning at the front of this book. I say, I'm opening it up right now, and here's what I say. On page 9, I say in big letters, warning. This book has the potential to offend. Christians, I use naughty words. Non-Christians, I cite Bible verses, so don't freak out.
Covered both sides.
I go after everybody. I don't leave anybody unscathed in this book.
Okay.
I said, scientists, I challenge your superior than thou ways. Feminists, I use generic words like mankind. This book may take people out of their comfort zone, and if you are easily triggered, you may want to take a couple puffs on your inhaler and read it in your safe space with your favorite stuffed toy and a mug of warm cocoa.
That sounds pretty good. And, Brad, I might just mention real quickly on your page 9, maybe you need to put the skull and crossbones.
Okay. Yeah, I left that little graphic out. Okay, that's a good point. Well taken. And I go on to say that this book is about love. It's about true love, not today's feel-good, lovey-dove love.
Good.
Yeah. Today's love is, people talk about, they use the word tolerate as a synonym for love. And it has nothing to do with love. Tolerate has nothing to do with love whatsoever. It's not in God's definition of love as described in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8. Tolerance is not in there. But there are specific words in there, and we need to pay attention to those words.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
I can tell you, should I tell you how I got from the point of not wanting to write this at all to actually writing it?
Absolutely.
Okay. I will give you the Reader's Digest version.
Okay.
I've had people for about 30 years telling me I should write a book, and I thought, and my answer to them over all those years was, there's lots of books, go read them. And I don't need to write another one. There's millions already, a lot of good ones. There's one really, really good one, and that would be the Bible. So if you haven't read that one, read that one first. Another book written by a schlub like me is not needed. And so it was this mantra, just kept over and over, you should write a book, you should write a book. And the fascinating thing about that is the people that were saying that to me were non-Christians. I was explicitly talking about Christ when I was talking to these people.
Okay.
And non-Christians would say, you should write a book. And I would challenge them. I'd say, why should I write a book about a God that you don't believe in? Why would you ask me to write that book? I don't even understand that. And it finally culminated with a customer. I own a coin store in Pittsburgh.
And what are you called?
It's called
a nuisance?
Well, to some people, yeah.
Pronounce that word for us.
Which, the store name?
Well, give us the store name and what the trade is called.
Oh, I see. Nuisance.
Nuisance.
Yeah, the store is is called cybercoins.net. It's a coin store with all the other things, stamps, paper money, so forth.
Okay.
And coin collecting is called numismatics. Stamp collecting is called philatelics. And so officially, I'm a numismatist.
Okay. I'm sorry. Forgive me for saying nuisance.
Well,
I'm picking up on your traits.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. You can tell me I suck.
Absolutely not. I don't think that about you.
Right. Well,
I love
the
your
book
family
was
too
written
much.
for me, you know.
Well, it was written for everybody.
Right.
My idea was that.
You know what,
obviously-
Brad? I hate to interrupt, but let's just go on hold for just a minute for a station break.
All right.
We'll be right back. Hold on, Brad.
Yep.
This morning or this afternoon, depending where you are on planet Earth, we are interviewing Brad Schiff from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who is a pneumatist and an author. And the book of his writing or authorship is God is Great, but His People Suck. Now, if that doesn't ring your bell, your clapper's broken. So it's a book that you'll want to get, and we're going to share with you a little later how you can obtain the book because it will hold you spellbound. You won't put it down until you're through with it, and you'll probably buy 5 copies to give to your friends. So, Brad, let's continue on. This is exciting.
Well, yeah. I must say, I did have one lady. She chewed me out for. She read the book and she came in and she said, "I'm upset with you." And I said, "All right, let me have it." And she said, "Your book kept me up all night." And I thought, "You just sit it on the side of the counter and it will just sit there. I don't know, how it could keep you up all night."
Right.
So she said she could not put it down. She said it was so good that she said it just warmed her heart.
Oh, great.
And another customer said the same thing, and he bought 50 copies.
Wow.
Yep. He
I like
said
that.
it was so good, and he's passing them out all over the Pittsburgh area. Wherever he goes, he passes them to people.
Well, at first, Brad, I looked at the title and it didn't sit well. I had to marinate with it for a while. And the more I marinated, the greater that title became exciting because, number one, it should get the attention of everyone and they will want to read it. It's a great book. It's super. So continue on with your story.
Great. Well, yeah, and along that same line, with the word suck, see, one of the ideas, if a person is truly saved, Christians, if they're truly saved, they don't need this book. They might need it to be better at their job, and that is to love. As Christians, that is our number one priority: to love God first, love everybody else second. So, but it's to draw in the people that say it's hogwash. And that word, I can't tell you how many people I have it on my front counter. How many non-Christians pick it up, laugh their heads off, and say, "I got to get this book," and they buy it. These are people that you want to read it. If they're saved, they're saved. They're secure. And these are the people that I want to read it, and that's why that word's so effective. Also, with Christians, true Christians who are searching and saying, well, why is he saying that? I'm kind of curious. It also draws them in. So, with what I was saying before, what got me to finally write this was a customer who came into the store. He was extremely smart. It's the first time he was in the store, and I started a mantra a long time ago, a couple decades ago, about I saw that the world was collapsing all around me, and I had a serious problem with that. And I said, if I don't address some of these things that are going on in the store, then I'm part of the problem.
Yes.
Of the decaying of the world.
Yes.
The decaying of people's minds and ideas and their looseness, their vileness. So I told my brother and father, I said, I'm going to start talking about politics and religion. And they were dubious about that, but they went along with it. They know who I am. They know how I talk to people. I love them. And so when people came to the store, I started a maxim, and I said, I told total strangers. We talk about politics and religion in here, and if you don't want to, you're going to have to leave.
Oh, that's exciting, talking about what we're not supposed to talk about.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So that started. And what's interesting about saying something like that is people, when they hear that, they laugh because it's sort of disarming. But this particular fella, he was a great big fella. He's like 6'4", maybe 300 pounds, very articulate. And I gave him that maxim, and he said, "You don't really talk about religion, do you?" And I said, "Well, of course we do." I said, "We'll talk about anything as long as we're civil about it." And he said, I find that hard to believe. And I said, "Do you have something to say? Go ahead and say it. You can't offend me. It's impossible." So he said, "I'm going to sanitize this for your listening audience." But he said, "Christianity is BS." Only he used the word.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that believes in it is an idiot.
Well, we are a little bit cracked. We had to be cracked to let the light in.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, there's no way that we can accept the truth of Jesus unless he first cracks us.
Right.
So with that, after he said that, instead of taking offense, which I didn't at all, I busted out laughing because he had no idea what I believed at all, and this is what he said. So I jokingly said back to him, "Well, you're going to have to consider me an idiot then." And he said, "Oh, you don't believe that stuff, do you?" And I said, "Oh, with all my heart I do." And so he started to back off from his point. And that's because, honestly, his words were harsh and they were direct. But this guy had a heart of gold, and I found that out through talking with him over a period of 2 hours. So how I addressed this fella, and this is the way that I think that we all need to address people all over the world. And that is, we need to address them with love. The first word of love, patience. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
That's easy. No problem. That's so what I said to him was, and I did this tongue-in-cheek. I said, "Hey, since you think I'm an idiot, I should be easy to defeat in an argument, don't you think?" And he said, "I would think so." And I said, "Want to try?"
Choose your weapon.
That's right. Again, that's why I started this program that way. I'm asked in 1 Peter 3:15 to have a ready defense for any question thrown at me. So that means Christians need to start studying every aspect of life, and that includes science, that includes every aspect, so that you can have a ready defense. Otherwise, we allow Satan to use these people to mock our Lord. That's not acceptable.
Amen.
So, all right. So here's what happened. He said he was game. He was completely willing to go toe to toe with me, and I said, would you do me a favor and allow me to try to explain how it came to be that you're standing in front of me right now? And he said he was game. Honestly, I'm going to say out words again. This fella, and this story is also in this book. This fella is a wonderful person. The words that he chose don't offend me at all. They're just words. They're meaningless. They do nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I care about hearts. I don't care about silly words. So this is what I said to him. Here, I said, for you to be standing in front of me right now, I said, I'm assuming you believe that science explains everything. And he said, absolutely. So I said, okay, so what we have is the Big Bang, primordial soup, amoeba, evolution, mom and dad, you. And I said, did I cover it? And he said, I mean, that's simple, but yes, that covers it. And I said, then I admire your faith. And he looked at me and he said, I don't have faith. And I said, well, what do you call it? And he said, well, it's not faith. And I said, all right, do you want to call it a belief system? And he said, that's fine. I said, all right, then I admire your belief system because it's far greater than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, how's that? And I said, well, the first thing you said is you believe that science explains everything. The first action that you believe in, the Big Bang, that a whole bunch of stuff, planets, suns, stars, all this stuff exploded from nothing, zero, nothing. And I said, that's not scientific, that's miraculous.
Yes.
Science never explains that a whole bunch of stuff comes from nothing. That's not scientific. So I said, right out of the gate, even though you claim that science explains everything, your first thing that you said isn't scientific.
True.
So, and I also put this in the book. I have a chapter in the book called "Scientists Suck Too." So,
yes, I saw that. Well, you know what he was saying is the old adage that you probably heard. That belief system is like throwing a hand grenade in a print shop and coming out with an encyclopedia. It's just not going to happen. But continue on, Brother Brad.
Oh, thanks. That's a good way of putting it. I haven't heard that one. Yeah, but so he looked at me and he said, I think this argument's going to be a lot more difficult than I thought.
Okay.
And I said, here's why your faith is so much greater than mine. In order for you to believe what you believe, first of all, the very first thing out of your mouth is miraculous, not scientific. So that's a major strike against you. But then you have to believe that trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions of things had to happen perfectly, simultaneously, instantly, and you know, we had to have the perfect axis of our planet, the perfect spin, the perfect distance from the sun, in order to have any chance at life at all. So he has to believe trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of things happened all at the same time, and then in the sequential order for these things for him to exist at all. And I said, and here's my belief. God created me. That's it.
Uh-huh.
So I said, so you can see how I admire that your thought process. You have a lot more to explain than I do.
Yes.
Not that science isn't obviously a standard, but it's a standard that God placed. Not a standard that it's just man used their brains that God gave us to find to go on a treasure hunt in the earth and in the atmosphere to find the elements that God put there.
Yes, yes. And Brad, I see the engineer saying we've got another break here. Hold that thought, and when we come back, as you finish this, I would like to also look at Chapter 6. My answer is no. Opinions is back, and we're speaking to the defender of the word from Pittsburgh, author Brad Schiff. Brad, let's pick up where we left off, and we'll get a little bit to Chapter 6 as well. This is, incidentally, this is Brad Schiff from Pittsburgh, author, pneumatist, and he's the author of the bestseller in my sight, God is Great, But His People Suck, by Brad Schiff.
Oh, man, every time you say that, it makes me laugh.
Oh, boy, it's a great title.
Well, I appreciate that. Lon, what I want to do, I want to set the world on fire for the truth of Christ. And I know that that's what you want to do, too. And that's why I like you so much. We're kindred spirits.
Well, we got the fuel, we got the match.
All right. That's good. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up with this fella. And this is how this book started. But again, I'm a slow learner. It took me 10 years to get around to writing the book. But after this guy said this. So I talked with this fella. He was a super guy, very smart. We went back and forth, and at the end of a 2-hour discussion, that's how long he was here at the store, he said, I'd like to say something to you. And he said, nobody has ever come close to convincing me that my position on science was wrong until now.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'm honestly confused at this point.
Great.
You presented the truth so well. And he said, I'm humbled, and you should write a book about this. And that was the first time, when I heard those words, that was the first time where I considered it. And then I quickly put it out of my head and went back to my old mantra and said, too many books, don't need any more.
Okay.
So your subject, this opinions show, which I got plenty of. Hey, can we extend this show for another 3 hours?
4.5.
Excellent. Okay, good. So I don't have to like speed through what I'm doing.
Right. Shorthand talk. Right. You got it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. So the subject is relationships, and in my book, the chapter 6 is called "My Answer Is No," and what it is, it's about my son-in-law Alexander, who's listening right now.
Oh, good. Hello, Alexander.
He's in Novi, Michigan right now. He's with my daughter and grandson. There's a whole house apparently listening to us right now.
Hey, great. Hey, thank you for listening in. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm gonna. Is it okay if I read a snippet of the book just to tease your listeners?
Your own.
All right. And this is the first part of chapter 6 called "My Answer Is No." I'll go ahead and read it. I love my son-in-law Alexander. He came from quality stock, loving parents who clearly nurtured him into the man I saw. But this didn't stop me from picking on him many times. My daughter Alexandra, yes, Alexander and Alexandra, had been dating Alex for about 3 years, and I knew the fateful day of my daughter permanently leaving was nigh. 21 years, 7,789 days, not including leap years,
yes,
of raising and enjoying my daughter was coming to an end. Like I dream of Jeannie, I tried to blink her back to the age of 4, but it didn't work. Okay, I said to myself. You knew this day was coming. Breathe. Yeah, but I didn't know it was coming so fast, I counter-argued myself. Then I remembered the words from Fiddler on the Roof, the musical in which my daughter had a key role in high school. Sunrise, sunset, quickly go the days. Panic. Well, if my daughter is going to hook up with some dude, even though I like him, I'm not going to make it easy for him. And that fateful day came. Dad, said Alexander. He has 2 awesome dads, God and his father, Chuck. But he also wanted to call me Dad, which is a very humbling thing.
Amen.
He said, can we go to breakfast? And I'd like to ask you something. And I tried to pretend like he didn't say anything by plugging my ears and saying, na 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 na, really fast and loud. But it didn't work. Alex persisted. And I was ready. I just didn't want to be. Oh, man, I said, it's really happening. So that's the teaser. And if you want to read the rest of it, you're going to have to buy the book. It's available on Amazon, by the way.
Hey, yes, how can we get it?
It's actually really easy to find. If you just went to Google or to Amazon, typed either my name in, Brad Schiff. My last name is it's normally spelled with a C, typically, but my last name is not with a C. It's Schiff. So if they spelled my name, put it into Google, or they said, God is great, but his people suck, it will take you right to Amazon. Pictures show up. I have a Twitter feed, Facebook, and all that goofy stuff. I don't really know how to do that. My daughter administers that, but
great.
Yeah.
So that's Brad. Is it same as the car name, Brad?
Well, like Brad Pitt.
Right. Okay.
Looking as me.
Okay. Well, it's Brad, B-R-A-D, Schiff, S as in Sam, Hiff. And
Yep.
Google that, and they'll find you on Amazon, did you say?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.com. It's selling well. In just a couple months, we're probably approaching 300 books. But the
Okay.
reason why it's so successful in selling that way is because what's so cool is the people that buy one copy just to see if what it is and how it is. All but two of those people that I know have come back and purchased at least 3 more copies because they said somebody else can use this book, and that is really heartening. That is where I know, okay, maybe I actually did something good.
I think you did. I think you did.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. So, should I get to what the chapter 6 is about? Like why?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, did you have any other questions? I don't want to interrupt.
Not at this point. You're doing great.
Good. Well, thank you. So the idea was with my son-in-law, and I'm gonna cut out some of the stuff because I'd like people to read it because it is an emotional story.
Yes.
Certainly for me, too. I mean, I honestly I love my kids. I have 5, and they're special to me. I poured myself into them.
Do you call them your Penta children instead of the Pentagon?
No, I never have, but I could.
All right. That's great. 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So I invested my time and energy into it, into them, and here was somebody coming along, and I really like my son-in-law. He's the greatest. But he's replacing me.
Mm-hmm.
And so what my answer, he seriously asked if he could have my daughter's hand in marriage, and I said no.
Okay, now, Brad, could you hold that for just a minute? We need to take another break here, but we're going to come back and finish what your thoughts are there. But I also want to mention about you wrote the wedding vows. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Opinions, and this is your host, Lon Smith, speaking to Brad Schiff, author, parent, pneumatist, and has one of the most exciting books I think you will ever pick up. And I'm looking, Brad, for it to hit the multi-million number on the bestsellers list. Brad Schiff, God is great, but his people suck. You can get that at Amazon.com. And if you Google Brad, B-R-A-D, Schiff, S-H-I-F-F, as in Frank, you'll want to get it, and you'll probably want to get more. So, Brad, continue on. This is an exciting story and an exciting book.
Well, thank you. I'm going on that word exciting. I'm excited to be on here with you.
Well, thank you.
Over these years, I've expressed how much I've appreciated you, and this is it couldn't be more jazzed.
Well, you're blessing me, but let me tell you something. You're blessing many, many people out there over iHeartRadio, heard around the world, and over the local arena of South Florida, from Kendall to Port St. Lucie. But that's not as good as your story. Let's finish on with you. We've got a few minutes left.
Okay, excellent. So when my son-in-law asked me for my daughter's hand in marriage, I said no, and he thought I was kidding, and I wasn't. And I'm going to say why I said no. I appreciate why he was doing it. He was doing the old age thing of honoring the parent. That was very cool, and I knew that, and I expressed that afterwards. But I wanted to put him on notice. And what I said, the reason why I said no, and he said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "I am." And I just sat there and let him sweat a little bit, and he did. And the smile went away from his face, and he said, "I don't know what to do now." And I said, "Let me ask you a question." And he said, "Okay." I said, "If I had a pound of pure gold sitting on my coffee table for all the years that you were coming into my house dating my daughter, and at the end of that time that you were going to leave, you asked me, can I have that gold on my coffee table? What do you think my answer is going to be? And he said, you would say no. And I said, right. And I said, how much more precious do you think my daughter is than that gold? Of course I'm not going to give her away.
Powerful.
And now, see, the thing that's so cool about this is the Bible doesn't ask you to give her away. It's a choice. The Bible says that the two shall make a decision to leave their mother and father and cleave to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I'm not going to give her away. I love her too much.
Right.
You know? So, and that's the way I look at things. I want to look at things. I'm an artist. My mind doesn't work normally. Like as you read at the very beginning, right and left hemisphere. I'm confused by the two. You know, I balance right on that fissure, and I don't know which way to go sometimes.
Sure.
You know, and it's fun. It's fun for me at least. You know, some people listening to me might think I'm a kook. But and here's the other thing that's so cool about your station and who you are. This is something that I love to do. I love sharing the truth with people, and I'll do it to anywhere I can with any church at any time. Just all I have to be is asked. I love doing this. I did it with my two sons last night, and it was just a great joy to share the Lord and see people's mouths drop open when I talk about this in a very earthy way.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I might share something quickly here with you, then don't lose your thought. My daughter's married to gentlemen, and I've decided they are not my sons-in-law. Law had nothing to do with it. They're either my sons in Christ, or they are my sons, or they are my daughter's husbands and my granddaughter's father, because in-law really has a bad connotation from the old days, and I just wanted to think of something different. I couldn't think of anything better than my sons, and as long as they weren't offended by that, I love them that much. But you go ahead and please continue. We've got about a minute and a half.
Okay. Yeah. So what I did, my daughter and my son-in-law. I'm just going to use that now.
That's okay.
Okay. They asked me to write their wedding vows, and I said, "Ooh, that's a tall order." And then I thought, well, actually, no, it's not, because it's God's word. All I have to do is go through, see what He says about marriage, put it together, and compile it, and I got it. That's it. So I did that. I went through and I took a man's role, a woman's role, and I intertwined them. And it's only probably a page long, a 9.5 by 8.5 by 11 sheet page long.
Okay.
And after I got done writing it, and I read it, I wept.
Mm-hmm.
I could not believe at the strength of God's words when it was all in a concentrated form. It hit me so hard. And so I wanted to see if this also would hit other people. I took it to a Bible study, gave it to a couple, a husband and wife team, and I said, can you read this to each other as if you were saying it to each other, getting married? The woman started crying halfway through.
It's very touching, for sure, and I'm sure it's in the book.
It is.
You know, and to get that wedding vow that they can make it, and I'm sort of coming to the end of the time that we're going to have to cut this off, but we're going to have to pick it up somehow. But Brad, I appreciate you being on with us. We'll get together again, and be sure to go to Amazon.com, Brad Schiff, and thank you for tuning in to Opinions with your host, Lon Smith, coming from South Florida, Boca Raton. Thank you, God bless you, and good night.